I get asked all the time as a firefighter, hey, are you guys going to go help with that big forest fire that's happening right now? Or last summer, did you guys go up country and help with that wildfire that we saw on the news? So, because people ask me this quite frequently, I thought I would explain it to you on how it works. How do municipal firefighters and state or provincial or even national firefighters, how do they work together? Who decides which firefighters go to put out a fire? So, how it typically works where I live is a wildfire incident occurs, whether that be man caused or through lightning or some other natural cause. We have a fire that starts. Now, because these really large fires often start in the forest or grow in the forest because that's where all the fuel is, they are often outside of city limits, all right? So if it's outside a city's limits, it's technically not the city's direct responsibility to deal with that incident. And since the structural firefighters, of which I am one, since we are employees of the city or the municipality, we are often not deployed immediately to go address those fires. Where I live, the province, or if you are in the United States, your state or even the federal government will have its own firefighters just for wildfire response. These firefighters receive different training than structural firefighters, and unless you're in management or some sort of a supervisory role, often they are seasonal employees where they will just come on staff through the warm summer months and into the shoulder seasons as well, because wildfires are certainly not limited to only June, July, and August, as we have all seen, right? So we have an incident that is outside a city limit in a forest, pardon me. So the province or the state or even the federal government will deploy their wildland firefighters to that incident. These are individuals who have training specifically with forest fires. Some of the real important things to be able to read if you are a wildland firefighter is being able to read the weather really well, being able to read topography, watching the fire behavior. It's different than someone like myself who mostly works on structure fires because the conditions can change so fast when you're out in the bush. And something like a wind change can completely change your plan of action if you're a wildland firefighter, where as a structural firefighter, wind direction is something we consider, but it just has less effect on us and on our tactics. So we get our wildland firefighters deployed. They are out there, they're in the bush, they're on the fire line. These are the guys who are wearing the backpacks and they've got the Pulaskis, which is like an axe with a little grub hoe on the back, and they're digging trenches in the dirt. They use water to put out the fire, like with hoses and stuff like that, but often it's just defensive work too, like creating fire breaks, creating areas where the fire hopefully can jump and stuff like that. So now, do structural firefighters ever help out on wildfires? And the answer is yes, of course. Now, what is different between myself and a professional wildland firefighter is the roles that we do on those big incidents. So most of the time when the structural firefighters are called into these incidences, it is to protect buildings. And so I would be part of what's called a structural protection division. So, a huge forest fire can rage in the middle of the forest. And honestly, society, we don't care too much until it starts burning down people's homes and still it starts jumping the highway or shutting down infrastructure, right? So if we're working or we've got that interface, right, where that forest meets that city, that's the area where they call in the structural firefighters to deal with that. Because at that point, we're more dealing with stuff that I'm used to in my everyday job. So they won't have me hiking up a mountain for a couple of kilometers, or directing helicopters to drop water, or airplanes, fixed wings to drop fire retardant. That's not my job. I'm not trained in that. And that's why we have specialty wildfire personnel for that job. But what they will have me do is they will have me employ different tactics as that fire comes up to these structures, right? Is this a intensity of fire that we can make a stand, and we can connect to our fire hydrants and use our fire engines and protect these houses? Or is that fire too big? Are we just going to assist, the police and stuff like that, to evacuate people from the area if the fire's too big? And then if the fire is that big, the fire rips through the town, and then people like myself will come back in and help put out spot fires and extinguish any houses that are on fire. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense to you. Understand that the province or the state or the federal government typically has a firefighting force specifically for wildfire, and those are the individuals who are out fighting the forest fires. And the structural firefighters, the firefighters hired by the municipalities, are just brought in cases of very large incidences, or in the case if the forest fire was up against my jurisdiction, against my municipal boundary, then I would be there to help. But my job is to protect the houses, or to extinguish the houses once they've caught on fire, or to assist in either evacuation or prepping buildings so that they have a lower likelihood of actually catching the fire if the forest fire comes through that area. So again, I hope that makes sense to you guys. A little bit of an understanding between wildfire firefighters and structural firefighters. I am fascinated by fire. I love being a firefighter. If you have any questions that you'd like me to answer about firefighting, how firefighters work and think, drop it in the comments, and I'll see you next time.